Story number 1. Ghost Dog. It was a quiet night. There wasn't a single star in the sky as I sat on my back porch, eating my candy and watching the leaves blow around the yard. I heard a noise. Looking up, I saw the neighbour's dog, Bacon, coming out of the bushes. He was sniffing around and wagging his tail. I loved playing with Bacon, but if my parents knew he had dug another hole under the fence, they would be mad. Quietly, so my parents wouldn't hear, I called him over. "Come here, Bacon." Bacon lifted his head and looked right in my direction. I patted my knee, and with a trot, he came running over. He smelled terrible, and his fur was all matted, but I patted him anyway, because I love it and he loves the pats too. "Ugh! Where did you get into, boy?" I asked with a laugh. Bacon nuzzled my side before sticking his head into my candy bucket. He must have been hungry, I thought, wondering if I could get away with sneaking inside and getting him something to eat. "Are you hungry, Bacon?" I asked, before adding, "Of course you are. You're always hungry." Bacon whimpered and nudged me. "Okay, boy, I'll get you something," I said, rising to my feet. I motioned for him to stay still as I got up and went inside. I was digging in the bottom drawer of the fridge for some lunch meat when Mum came into the kitchen. "What are you doing?" she asked as she got a glass from the cabinet. I debated telling her the truth. If I did, she would be mad because of the hole, but if I didn't, she would probably find out I was lying. It was almost like she had a special ability to do so. I was trying to get something for Bacon to eat," I replied as I pulled out a pack of lunch meat. My mum didn't say anything at first, but I felt her hand on my shoulder. "Oh, honey, I have been meaning to tell you this, but I didn't want to upset you. Bacon was hit by a car last week. He didn't make it," she said softly. I was stunned. "What are you talking about? He is outside right now," I said, turning to face her. She looked down at me and squeezed my shoulder. "Honey, your father buried him," she said. "You don't believe me, do you? Here, I'll show you," I cried, walking towards the back door. As I opened the back door to show her, I was surprised to find Bacon gone. I called out for him. "Bacon! Bacon, where are you?" But he didn't come. "I swear he was right here," I said. My mother nodded her head, her mouth in a grim line. She patted me on the back before heading back inside. I could tell she didn't believe me. Confused, I went to pick up my candy bucket. But when I saw the paw prints in the yard and heard what I could swear was Bacon's whimper in the wind. Story number 2. I want candy. I was rich. Rich in candy, that is. The 2 pillowcases, heavy with booty, were digging into my shoulder as I lugged them home. Now the only thing left to do was to eat it, and I planned to make myself sick. My parents had already gone ahead to our house, allowing me to walk the rest of the way home by myself. It wasn't that big of a deal because our house was at the end of the street. Craving something sour, I stopped to dig through one of the bags. Those were hard to find amongst all of the chocolate. Score! I had just wrapped my hands around my prize when I heard a crunching sound coming from behind me. Turning to look, my eyes widened at the sight of a group of kids coming from the neighbour's bushes. It wasn't a large number of kids or even the odd situation, but the fact that each of the kids was dressed as a zombie costume. They looked very realistic. I stood up to watch them as they began coming my way. The zombie kids moved slowly, as if each of them had a limp. "You guys look cool," I called out to them. "Candy! I want candy!" The kids all chanted together with their arms out in front of them. At that moment, I became a little worried. The kids were strange. Surely they weren't planning to bully the candy out of my hands. Maybe they hid in the bushes waiting until another kid came along alone so they could steal his candy. After all, it wasn't the first time I had heard something of this happening. I turned to leave, picking up my pillowcase full of candy. Candy! I want candy! The group of zombie kids moaned again. "Weirdos," I said to myself, picking up the pace. I didn't get very far before I felt a tug of one of my bags. Turning my head, I saw two of the zombie kids had a hold of one of my pillowcases, and they were trying to snatch it away from me. It became a game of tug of war. "Get off! This is my candy!" I cried, tugging back. The zombie kids ignored me. They were still chanting and had somehow managed to circle around me. I was more than a little worried now. They also ignored anything I said to them, not saying anything except, "I want candy." That's when I noticed the smell of rotting flesh and decay coming off of them. Now I was really freaked out. They weren't wearing costumes. I screamed in fear. "You can have it!" I shouted at them, releasing the pillowcase. The sudden letting go of the bag sent the group of zombie kids flying backwards. I took the chance to escape the candy-hungry horde, not stopping my sprint home until the door was shut and locked behind me. Relieved, I fell against the door with a heavy sigh. Looking down at my hands, I couldn't help but smile. At least I got away with one pillowcase. Story number 3. Not human. "I'm really glad our parents are letting us go trick-or-treating alone," my friend said to me, grabbing my arm, pulling me closer. I had never been to this neighborhood before, but it was full of big houses, and we're very sure we were going to have the best candy. "I know, right?" I replied with a smile, and then asked, "Which house should we go to first?" "How about that one?" my friend responded, pointing at one of the large houses across the street. It was spooky looking in the dark, with purple lights and cobwebs everywhere. The creepiest touch was the fake tombstones lining the yard, circling around a black coffin in the centre. I nodded in agreement, and we crossed the street running. As we came upon the yard, a shiver went down my spine. We had just stepped foot onto the driveway when a figure popped out of the coffin. My best friend and I both jumped in surprise. Then we laughed when we realised it was just a kid our age. He had startled both of us so much we dropped our candy pails on the ground. I couldn't tell what his costume was. His clothes didn't seem out of the norm, but his skin was waxy looking and pale. "That was awesome! We didn't even know you were in there," my friend said to the kid. I felt another shiver run down my spine as the boy remained silent. "What are you supposed to be?" I asked. The boy smiled. I sucked in a breath when I saw his teeth were pointy and sharp looking. "Human," the boy replied with a smile widening. My best friend and I shared a frightened glance. And as if that wasn't creepy enough, the boy just stared at us with his black eyes that he had yet to blink. A strange feeling swept through me. I felt the urge to get out of there as soon as possible. "Oh, that's nice," I managed to stutter out. "Well, happy Halloween." I tried to keep my expression calm, but I was pretty sure I failed. Scared, I turned around, pulling my friend along with me. We walked away slowly, trying not to look back behind us at the boy. When we reached the corner of the street, we ran as fast as we possibly could back to my house and begged my mother to take us to another neighborhood. However, we had left our candy buckets behind, and my mother insisted on going back despite our protests. She insisted that we were scared of nothing. When we got there, the candy pearls were gone, and she told us to go up to the door. Half expecting the boy to pop out again, we made our way cautiously towards the door. My friend forced me to knock, as we stood there shuffling our feet. A moment later, a man in a vampire costume opened the door. "Happy Halloween!" he cried, holding out a candy bowl. When I didn't speak up at first, my friend nudged my shoulder. Excuse me, sir. Earlier we came by, and your son scared us so bad that we dropped our candy buckets outside. And we were wondering if we could maybe have them back?" I asked softly. "Son? I'm sorry, I don't have any children," he replied with a confused look. Both of our jaws dropped open at hearing this. "Then, who was the boy?"